10 Nissan.
I'm 17 years old. I'd never been away from home before.
I give that nigga the chair. I'm not gonna tell her to give that nigga a life sentence.
You ravished that girl.
I was in a fight, just a fight with some white boys.
You raped that girl.
I saw no girl.
You held a knife to her head.
I raped nobody.
Guilty or not guilty? Let's get rid of these niggas.
Good morning, sir. Mr. Wilcox looking for you.
Sam.
Hello, Harry.
You remember Leonard George?
Sure I do. How you been, Lenny?
Just fine. I see the cold verdict made headline news. If I had a nickel for every case you've won.
Well, you could ride the Wonder Wheel at Coney Island all summer long.
I'd like you to meet a friend of mine, William Patterson Sam Leibowitz.
Hey,
Pleasure.
William is the head of an organization known as the International Labor Defense.
You mean the Communist Party? Let me ask you something. Why is the ILD so interested in these boys?
Well, they happen to represent a nation of millions of oppressed people struggling against dehumanizing inequalities that's lasting.
No political interest here, Mr. Patterson. Cases are won on facts, not rhetoric.
These boys are beaten by the guards every day. And to make matters worse, they think the world has turned their backs on them. Now, look, we have no money to pay you.
I would not take any money for such a case.
And you don't have to like me or what I stand for. But for these boys, you may be the only prayer they have. It's a transcript from the Scottsboro trial. It took a jury of 12 white farmers all of 20 minutes to vote guilty. Take a look. I'll wait to hear from you.
Good to see you, Sam.
Lenny, you too.
Harry.
20 minutes.
Sam, this is the South we're talking about. You're never gonna find a jury of 12 men to acquit 9 black boys charged with rape. Sam, you can't win in Alabama.
Sweetie, how's your day?
The usual. The boys can't wait for baseball to start. Marjorie thinks piano's a waste of time. She wants to be a tap dancer. How about you?
I could never fit into the shoes.
Very funny.
Leonard George stopped by today, asked me if I wanted to work on the Scottsboro case.
Oh? You go down there, you'll come back a head shorter.
Where's Mr. Earl? He went out for coffee. Will, would you mind taking a look at my article for me? Well?
The composition's fine, but the form's all wrong.
How so?
Well, you put the word nigga in quotations. When you use a colloquialism, you don't want to draw attention to it, Calvin. Make you seem pretentious.
Well, maybe I want to seem pretentious.
Mr. Earl! Hey, you remember that story we ran a year ago about the Scottsboro case?
Yeah, I remember.
Now take a look at that. Scottsboro verdict overturned. The U.S. Supreme Court ordered a new trial for all 9 defendants. The vote for a new trial was 7-2. 7-2, Mr. Earl.
This is unprecedented for the United States Supreme Court to...
It's a big story, sir. Somebody got to go down there and cover it.
Somebody has to.
I agree. This story's got to be covered. You go, William. I doubt if you'll find much support down there, but if you are the historian, we'll print it.
One of them held a knife to my throat while their mothers ravished me. No sooner had one finished, the next one stepped up. See me go on for hours.
I was with Victoria when they came into the gondola car. My overalls were taken off. I was held down. And they had intercourse with me. I don't know how long it took. I have no idea.
All I can say is, hide him. Hide them all.
We, the jurymen, find the defendants guilty as charged and set your punishment as death in the electric chair. May the Lord have mercy on your souls.
The children are asleep.
The press in the South had a heyday with this, Belle. They go on and on. I mean, each article, each thing is more vicious than the last. Listen to this. The charge against the 9 Negroes appears to be the most revolting in the criminal records of our state. The attack against the girls is so horrible in its details that all the facts can never be printed. We still have savages abroad in the land, it seems. Let us have the solace of knowing that at least we have risen above the justice of savages. Now, they go on and on. I mean, these boys, they didn't have a chance.
The twins wanted to know if I would take them to a Dodger game when you go to Alabama.
Val,
Don't say it.
I have to go. I mean,
I asked you not to say it.
Belle, can I read this to you? Belle, what are you doing? There's a page missing. That's what it is. There's a page missing, I guess. Belle? Belle. What are you doing?
An extra pair of socks.
Socks? Come on, Belle, I'm sure they have socks in Alabama.
What kind of socks? What if there's a rainstorm or a flood?
Never get tired of this view. I'm in the insurance trade. You can buy insurance for almost anything these days. Fire, theft, tornadoes, floods. Yeah, well, you name it, and it's insurable.
True.
Oh, listen to me, going on like some old huckster.
I know.
What line of work are you in?
I'm a lawyer.
A lawyer? Well, why didn't you say so?
Now I feel foolish. I was trying to sell you something that you have no use for. I'm sorry.
It's quite all right.
You know the real meaning of the word insurance.
What's that?
It's a game of chance in which the player is permitted to enjoy the comfortable conviction that he is beating the man who keeps the table. So what's a northern lawyer doing south of the Mason-Dixon?
I'm on my way to Decatur in Alabama. I'm defending the Scottsboro boys.
Oh, those Negroes who raped the two girls on the freight train.
Well, of course, that's what everyone's saying.
Oh, they don't
In
need defending. What they need is a rope wrapped around their skinny necks until they're dead, every last one of them. And anybody who tells you otherwise is a nigger lover and a goddamn fool. But I expect you'll find that out for yourself.
I've been expecting you.
How you been, Wade?
Oh, just dandy. My son, he's growing like a weed. Colored boys are getting more attention than a blind man in a shooting gallery.
I'm afraid that's just the start of it, Wade. Before we're done, they're gonna be selling tickets out on the courthouse lawn.
Never thought it'd come to this, Tom.
You need a good right-hand man. Someone familiar, someone versed in the finer points of Alabama law.
You ain't got to rope me into this case, Tom. I'm not about to let some carpetbagger come into my town and tell me how to run my business. It ain't gonna happen.
Good.
Straight up. Hit Alabama.
He's Jewish.
Come again?
Carpetbagger, name's Leibowitz. He's Jewish.
Of course he is.
Stuff you should know.
Excuse me, can you tell me where the Cornelian Arms Hotel is?
Back over yonder, at the edge of town.
Up there?
The edge of town.
Come on, Elizabeth.
Morning, Judge.
Hey. Morning, Judge.
Oh, we're in the news.
That would be 20 cents.
Now, I believe these old lots have been around since Jefferson Davis. Mind if I give it a try?
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure is a scorcher.
You say that again, son. I know you like that box
Looking for some men like y'all to sign my petition.
You're a what?
I write for a newspaper. They say I need some working men's signature so I can sit in the courtroom. Look, I just arrived here from Chicago. I need some signatures.
Signatures? So you can sit in the white man's courtroom?
I was hoping.
Look, folks around here ain't gonna give your name just 'cause you asked for it. Besides, ain't smart for no Negro be walking around town in Sunday clothes on no weekday. White folks will think you uppity.
All right, then. Sorry to bother y'all. Mean no disrespect. Y'all go on, have a good day now.
Tell you, hold up. Come back here, young fella. Let me see that thing now. I'm gonna go ahead and sign that. Y'all come on over here.
Sure do appreciate it.
Mr. Leibowitz, I'm Joe Brodsky from the ILD. This is Mr. George Chamley.
How you doing?
Pleased to meet you.
You too.
Yeah, we told the boys they were coming there. They're very excited.
Ah. Shall we go inside?
Yes, sir.
I'll stand single file. Not gonna tell you again, son.
My name is Sam Leibowitz. I'm from New York City. I'll be in charge of the defense from now on. Now, the farmers and merchants of Scottsboro, they may have put you here, but they don't have the last word. Haywood Patterson, your trial will be first, followed by Clarence, Andy, Willie, Ozzie, Charlie, Olem, and Eugene will be last. Where's Eugene?
He's right here.
He don't talk much. Ain't nobody from his family been to see him in almost 2 years.
Eugene. We're gonna put on a very, very good defense. Truth will get out. You'll get your day in court. Promise you that. You'll all get your day in court.
Mr. Leibowitz.
Yeah.
Don't you have enough niggas to defend in New York?
I will let you have that one, but don't ever talk to me that way again. Now, I want you boys to stay calm. Try not to worry. And we're gonna get the job done for you. How long you been giving candy and cigarettes to the prisoners?
Since we arrived.
I see. That's how the ILD operates. Keep the boys happy, because they signed your contract.
I don't see the harm in making life a little easier for them.
Well, let me tell you the harm in it, Mr. Brodsky. State's attorney comes down here, and they see these prisoners are getting special treatment, and he uses that information in court. You will not find a single juror in all of Alabama that will vote for an acquittal. That is the harm in it.
Mr. Leibowitz, we've been down here for a few weeks. I think we know what's best for our clients.
Well, Mr. Brodsky, I would suggest you find a better way to be useful. Well, now listen to me. I have come down here from New York to give these boys a fair trial. That can be done there, it can be done here in Alabama, if it's done the right way.
Right.
How'd you get that scar on your face?
A soldier gave it to me.
Soldier.
Yes, sir. It happened at the trial in Scottsboro.
During the trial?
I was sitting in the courtroom when one of the girls was testifying. And the deputy leaned over and asked me if I was going to turn state sentence. I said, no. I ain't know nothing about that trial. So around about that time, they took me in a room behind where the judge sat at. And they whipped me. They whipped me till I thought they was gonna kill me. And all the while they was whipping me, they kept saying, now you gonna tell? Now you gonna tell? Over and over. And after a while, I just couldn't take it, so I said, yeah. And on the way out, a soldier hit me with his bayonet.
Welcome to Montgomery, counselors.
Al, it's a pleasure to be here.
Why don't you have a seat? What can I do for you, gentlemen?
Well, we met Leroy Wright in the Birmingham jail now. He claims that he was assaulted by militiamen in Scottsboro. Apparently a state trooper cut a piece of flesh from his cheek with a bayonet.
Well, I haven't heard a thing about it.
Well, as the former Attorney General and esteemed member of the Alabama Supreme Court, we thought you might want to order an investigation.
Investigation?
Don't you think we should let the colored boy identify the man who cut him?
Bring me the boy. I'll see to it justice is served.
That's very good to hear, General. I'm sure that he'd be happy to make the trip along with the white officer who put that nasty scar on his face.
Mr. Leibowitz, some of us read and write, put our pants on one leg at a time just like you do. Sir, I have no racial bigotry or hatred in me. But believe me when I tell you, we understand the Negro and know how to handle him.
Let me ask you this. Why are Negroes in Alabama excluded from jury service?
We don't need to talk about that.
I have to. I'm compelled to. New York Bar Association would begin proceedings against me for malpractice unless I pleaded that the indictment was defective. I'll tell you, though. I'll tell you what you could do. I mean, avoid that question entirely.
Mm-hmm. How?
All you have to do is drop the charges and call this whole thing off.
You can go straight to hell.
If I go, sir, you're coming with me. I give you a shot.
With all due respect, Mr. Leibowitz, I don't think it's proper for you to speak to an Alabama Supreme Court justice.
Why not, George? Is he trying the case?
No, but his son is.
Exactly.
I'm not a first-year law student. I'm not some foot soldier for the cause. Mr. Shamley and I argued this case in front of the United States Supreme Court. We won these boys a new trial.
I'm sorry if I offended you.
This is a list of doctors, school teachers, professional men living and working in Morgan County. Everyone on that list is qualified to sit on a jury. And everyone on that list is black.
Thank you.
How you doing today, Haywood?
Girls said they rode the freight from Huntsville down here to Chattanooga to look for work. They claimed to have spent the night in a boarding house up the street. When they couldn't find any work in the mills the next morning, they got back on the train for home. Down there, the hobo jungles. Yeah, and drifters go down there when they need a place to stay for the night and build a campfire. Somebody lives down there? E.L. Lewis drifted down there a few years ago and never left.
Mr. Lewis, can I talk to you a minute? All we want to do is help those boys. That's all we want to do, is help those boys.
Victoria? Ruben?
How you doing?
I just thought it'd be nice if we'd go over a few things this afternoon.
This here's a gondola car.
This is a gondola car, huh?
Now, you all know I don't want to burn anyone that isn't guilty. All I want is the truth.
I've told the truth.
What was Victoria Price wearing?
A coat, men's overalls, a dress, and a pair of step-ins underneath.
I gotta get this straight. All right, the train that pulls out of here. 45 minutes later, a band of bloody hobos, they come running back to report a fight they had been in minutes earlier.
And they called a sheriff, and he calls ahead to his deputy and tells him to arrest every colored drifter getting off the train at the depot.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
Remember how it was? Tell Mr. Knight what went on in that gondola car. I'll tell him.
Ladies, how y'all doing? Sign this for me, please. There you go. Thank you.
Come in.
My name is William Lee. I write for the Chicago National. I was told that I would need a petition of names of people who live in Alabama to sit in your courtroom. Well, here, sir, is that petition.
You come all the way from Chicago?
Yes, sir, I did.
A young man like you could put a scare into a jury. Not to mention the scare this town could put into you.
I'm aware of that, Judge.
And you want to sit in my courtroom?
Yes, sir, I do.
Why is that?
Well, I believe the people deserve to hear more than one side of the story, sir.
Well, we'll see what we can do.
The catfish biting?
At first I tried chicken livers and crawfish, now I'm on stink baits. I don't know why I keep coming here, I never catch any fish. All I end up with is sunburn.
Mama said you wanted to...
What is it?
She said you wanted to see me, Mama's.
Hand me that middle bucket. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you better have your ducks in a row, boy. They're gonna come at you real hard. The courthouse will be filled with newspaper men and more than enough nervous neighbors. Let's show them that Alabama justice is just as fair and impartial as anywhere else. I don't want this one going back to Supreme Court. Governor's got his eye on you, Tom.
Sir?
As far as I know, he has no plans to run for re-election. You handle this case, could be your ticket to Montgomery.
Welcome to Alabama.
All rise. Please be seated. Before we begin jury selection, I understand the defense has a motion to make, Mr. Leibowitz?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. I would first like to call a witness and ask that Mr. James Benson be sworn in at this time.
The state has no objection.
Mr. Benson?
Place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God?
I do.
Be seated.
Mr. Benson.
Yes.
Now, you are one of the jury commissioners for Jim County, is that correct?
Yes, sir. I'm also the editor of the Scottsboro Progressive Age, and I'm a member of the Alabama Press Association. I'm the president.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Yes.
You recognize this book?
Yes, sir. It's the Jackson County Jury Roll Book.
To your knowledge, do the names of any Negroes that live and work in Jackson County appear in this jury roll?
No, sir, not that I'm aware of.
Ah, now it's quite a large book. There are a lot of names in that book, right?
Yes, sir.
But no Negroes. Can you explain why it is that Negroes are excluded from this book?
It's a matter of selection, sir, not exclusion. Some Negroes have a sound reputation, but they haven't been properly trained for jury duty.
Oh, why is that?
They don't have the sound judgment. Say the same thing about women folk.
I see. Well, let me ask you this. Is the judgment of, say, a Negro preacher or teacher or deacon any less sound than that of an illiterate white man?
No, sir. A lot of the Negroes have good education, but they lack character.
Now, by character, do you mean honesty?
Yes, sir. Some Negroes will steal.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, sir.
I didn't know that. Now, earlier you said something about training. They lack the training. What exactly does that mean? Could you tell the court a little bit about what that training entails?
They get training in their everyday life and what they do.
They get training in what they do in life. But that has nothing to do with jury service, because jury service is, in fact, something that any citizen who lives in the state is of proper age with no prior convictions is eligible. Would you say that's a fair interpretation of the code?
Yes, sir.
So, in fact, Negroes could be included in this book, but they are not.
That's correct.
Thank you, that's all.
Yes, sir.
You may step down, sir.
Your Honor, the defense's motion is to quash the indictment on the grounds that Negroes were excluded from the jury rolls of Jackson County.
A motion is denied. Please call your first candidate.
Well, Your Honor, I would ask that the court examine the jury rolls in Morgan County.
For what purpose?
For the purpose of determining how many Negroes were selected for jury service.
Judge.
If I may. Mr. Leibowitz, I see that there are several members of our Negro community in the courtroom today. Might I suggest that we start this procedure by calling these candidates first, since it appears that is the way you are heading anyway.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to present my first candidate. Sir, I just want to ask, professional man, you have a job?
Yes, sir.
And you are over the age of 18?
Yes, sir.
Any prior criminal convictions?
No, sir.
All right. Have you ever been asked to serve on a jury?
No, sir.
Why is that?
One by one, Negro men were called to the stand. Businessmen, doctors, educators, and civic leaders, most of whom had college degrees and some more than one. Over a dozen of Morgan County's best introduced themselves to the judge, press, and nation. Above all, Leibowitz proved that qualified black men had been deliberately excluded from jury service in Alabama. As it turned out, they would continue to be.
How are you doing today? I cannot help you if you don't want to help yourself. I'm not going to talk. All right, Haywood. No, have it your way. Sheriff!
How are you, sir? Good to see you. Just remember, son, these are your neighbors, and this is your backyard.
All rise. Honorable Judge James Edwin Horton presiding.
Please bring in the jury. Let the indictment be read.
The grand jury charges that Haywood Patterson forcibly ravished Victoria Price and Ruby Bates against the peace and dignity of the state of Alabama.
Please call your first witness.
The state calls Miss Victoria Price.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please be seated.
Your name is Victoria Price?
Yes, sir.
On March 25th, 1931, where were you living?
Huntsville, Alabama.
On that day, were you on a freight train traveling through Jackson County?
Yes, sir.
Was anyone else with you on that train?
Ruby Bates.
And what part of the train were you in?
Gondola car.
And as the train proceeded on its way, did anyone else come into that gondola car?
Some colored boys come over.
What did the defendant do then?
He helped take my clothes off.
And what clothes did you have on?
Overalls, shirt, dress, step-ins, girl's coat and girl's hat.
Now, Miss Price, I ask you to examine this garment. These are the step-ins you had on?
Yes, sir.
We offer them in evidence.
Your Honor, we object. Those step-ins, they were not produced at the first trial at Scottsboro.
They are now.
This court will not permit any disorder. I will clear this courtroom if it is necessary to do so. If you cannot restrain your feelings, the proper place for you is outside.
This defendant had intercourse with you?
Yes, sir.
Now, Miss Price, you resist this defendant.
I fought him as long as I could.
You may have the witness.
Should I call you Miss Price or Mrs. Price?
Mrs. Price.
That's a pretty fair idea of a gondola, isn't it?
No, sir.
It doesn't look like a gondola to you.
No, sir.
Well, how was a gondola you were in different from this one?
The gondola I was in was lots bigger. That is a toy.
Right. Yeah, of course it is, yeah. How old were you on March 25th, 1931?
21.
Oh. Where were you born?
Lincoln County, Tennessee.
Ah, what day, what year?
20th of January.
What year? But do you have to think about that? Figure it out?
I can't remember the day I was born.
You can't remember the day you were born? What is it that you can't think fast enough? Figure out 21 from 1931?
We object.
Sustain the objection.
Mrs. Price, you came here today prepared to say that this defendant raped you?
Objection.
Had you ever been raped before?
No, I haven't.
I'm sorry.
No, sir, I haven't.
Do you know a man by the name of Jack Tiller?
Yes, sir.
He was your boyfriend, wasn't he?
Yes, sir.
And the two of you were convicted together, convicted of lewdness?
Objection.
We don't care if this woman's been convicted of 40 offenses. The charge is rape. She's never been convicted of living in adultery with a Negro. This is where the defense is going.
Sustain the objection.
I will prove, Your Honor, that Mrs. Price consorted with Negroes time and time again, and I will prove it beyond a doubt.
All right, you prove it instead of saying it.
Your Honor, I offer into evidence a certificate of conviction, case number 5437, City of Huntsville.
Objection, it is immaterial and irrelevant.
And that is a certified copy, Judge, and it shows that Mrs. Price was convicted of adultery.
Yes, this is the City Code of Huntsville.
And it is adultery.
Objection overruled.
Your Honor, I'm not entirely sure that the witness understands the meaning of adultery in the legal sense.
I'll explain it to her.
I will explain it to her. Thank you, Mr. Leibowitz. Adultery means living with a man without marriage. That is, having sexual relations with him without being married to him. Do you understand? You do?
Yes, sir.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, we all understand that Mrs. Price had a prior conviction for adultery.
Miss Price, do you know a man named Lester Carter?
No, sir.
You never heard of him before in your life?
No, sir.
Wait a minute. Are you sure about that?
I'm sure.
Mrs. Price, I'm going to ask you the question again, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to change your answer if you want to. Did you know Lester Carter before March 25th, 1931? What was that?
I guess I met him in the Scottsboro jail.
Excuse me. Do you guess you met him, or did you meet him at the Scottsboro jail?
I met him at the Scottsboro jail.
In fact, you know Lester Carter.
I do know one thing. Those Negroes and that Haywood Patterson raped me.
I think you're a little bit of an actress, Mrs. Price.
Your Honor.
You're a pretty good actor yourself. Mr. Leibowitz.
Let me see if I can't refresh your memory as to what happened in Chattanooga. You arrived there with Ruby and Lester in the afternoon of March 24th. You walked down the railroad tracks, and that's where you met Orville Gilly. Then the four of you walked down into a clump of trees to a place called the Hobo Jungles.
I was never in any place called Hobo's Jungles.
Isn't it also true, Miss Price, that you had been known to stay overnight in a cabin belonging to a Negro named Lewis on several occasions besides this one, in the same Hobo Jungles?
We object. This whole line of questioning is an argument with the witness.
Your Honor, the Attorney General challenged me to prove Mrs. Price's association with Negroes. I am now going to prove it.
Do you expect to go further and prove a relation?
Well, I will go ahead as far as Your Honor will permit me.
Objection overruled.
Is this a picture of you and Ruby Bates?
That is myself and Ruby Bates.
Wait a minute.
Your Honor, the Attorney General said that I could not prove her association with Negroes. There's a picture of it right there.
We object. Doesn't show when or where it was...
That is you and Ruby Bates.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, I offer this picture in evidence. Mrs. Price, who is Callie Brochi? Who is Callie Brochi?
A woman in Chattanooga.
And what'd she have to do with you?
She kept me and Ruby Bates the time we went to Chattanooga.
You're sure about that?
I'm sure.
Just like you were sure about Lester Carter before I gave you an opportunity to correct the record that in fact you didn't know him. I suppose I told you that the name of Callie Brochi that you applied to this boarding house lady is in fact the name of a boarding house lady used in a fictional story in the Saturday Evening Post. Isn't that where you got the name?
This is an outrage. I want to make a statement to this court. I do not think the court should allow the use of this photograph.
Are you sure you don't want to change your story? You can change your story about Callie
Being
Brochi.
seen in the vicinity of a Negro is not the same as
Like
consorting
you
with one.
changed
The
your
way the
story
defense
about
would
Lester.
have you believe.
Change your
This
story.
is a rape case.
You can change your story over and over again. But this photograph,
Mr. Leibowitz,
speaks for itself. Ms. Price, isn't the reason you're making these charges because you were found hoboing on a train? And you thought I'd get arrested for vagrancy, for being in the company of Negroes, and to save yourself, you cried rape.
No, sir.
I have no further questions. Do you have socks?
Yeah, underneath the candy and the drawers right there.
They're all squishy.
Mr. Leibowitz.
Afternoon, Judge.
Afternoon. Enjoy that rain we had?
Nice rain. Nice rain.
Have a tin of the Garrett, please. Having a little trouble there finding what you want?
Yeah, I'll get. I'll get it.
Got something you want to say to me?
There is something on my mind, Judge, and I really hope you don't find this inappropriate. Why'd you take this case?
Well, that is an odd question coming from you.
I mean, you could have recused yourself for personal reasons, avoided this whole mess.
That's good. You have?
After this is over, I can go back to my practice in New York. You live here.
Well, let me ask you why you took this case.
Those boys, they didn't have a fair shot. They were not properly defended at the first trial. So I thought,
Well, to answer your question, I come from a long line of lawyers and judges, Mr. Leibowitz, so if I wanted to avoid a mess, as you put it, I should have chosen another occupation. And I am here listening to this case, trying to sift out the truth, and that's what I will do. And my only interest, indeed my obligation, is to see that justice is done, and that about sums it up. Nice to see the sun again, isn't it?
yes.
See you later.
Is that iced lemonade?
I believe it is, yes. Would you join me for a drink?
Sure.
Little,
Nice night. Nice night.
Yes.
Nice night.
It's a quiet time. The sun is going down, the smell of eucalyptus in the air. A famous Southern writer referred to that as the secret shade of night approaching. some show you put on in the courtroom today, Mr. Leibowitz, and I can't remember the last time I took such a whooping.
Yeah, well, no, it's early innings.
But little puppy dogs turn belly up at the sight of you.
Yeah, the puppy does, yeah. I'll have to remember that one.
Well, things are a tad slower down here, Mr. Leibowitz, and I'm not sure Alabama's quite ready for a city slicker like you, but I have to admit, I admire your tenacity. And I mean that as a compliment.
And I accept. Well, it's been a long day. Thanks for the drink.
Under severe cross-examination by Samuel S. Leibowitz of New York, Victoria Price clung to her story that Haywood Patterson was one of 6 Negroes who savagely attacked her on an Alabama freight train 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's about.
I also have a letter here from a local minister. Mr. Leibowitz, you have defiled the reputation of one of Alabama's finest young ladies. Shame on you.
Have you noticed how the trees, they seem to be growing in different directions down here?
The trees?
Trees, yes. I mean, just look at them. They're, each branch, you know, they're each reaching out for the sun, but in different directions. I mean, it's a variety of trees and it's a variety of trees.
Mr. Leibowitz.
Morning.
William Lee.
Yes, yeah, I saw you in the courthouse taking notes at your desk. It seems the good people of Alabama are determined to keep both of us in our place.
Yeah, well, you've made a few friends down here.
Thank you.
Well, I'm looking at it right now, Governor. Now, don't you worry, we made a strong case. We're going to get a conviction. So far, there's been no trouble or any sign of violence to speak of. Mm-hmm.
Where were they? We were in the same room.
Well, when you attacked Victoria Price, you attacked her honor and everything these folks stand for down here.
Wait. Her honor?
Just a knot, sir. Tom?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Ruby Bates is missing.
What do you mean she's missing?
You can't burn down the South. Expect to win this case.
You made your point, but you know, cases are won on evidence and facts.
You don't need her, son. Victoria Price, I already gave her story, and the jury heard it loud and clear.
Defend them boys. Make people look at them as real human beings, and they might stand a chance.
It was a pleasure to meet you. And I hope we have a chance to debate this again in the future.
State calls Dr. R.R. Bridges. On March 25th of 1931, did you examine Victoria Price?
Yes, sir.
And doctor, from your examination of Victoria Price on that occasion, was it apparent to you that she had had sexual intercourse?
Yes, sir.
And is it possible, in your opinion, that as many as 9 men could have had intercourse with her?
Objection.
Overruled. It's possible.
Thank you, doctor.
Dr. Bridges, when these 2 women came to your office, was either one of them hysterical?
No, sir.
As a medical man, can you conceive, can you imagine 2 women, going through such a horrible experience. I mean, 9 Negroes raping them, throwing them around a freight car. And they come to your doctor's office and they show no signs of hysteria.
Objection.
Dr. Bridges, the male egg is called the spermatozoa.
Yes, sir.
Now, it moves around like a little tadpole.
Well, it has a head, body, and tail.
All right. And if you remove the spermatozoa, or the tadpole, from a woman's womb, and you place it under a microscope, can you see it moving?
Yes, sir.
Under favorable conditions, how long can the spermatozoa live inside a woman?
Around 24 hours.
Now, did you remove spermatozoa from Victoria Price?
Yes, sir.
When?
The afternoon of the 25th.
Did you place that spermatozoa under a microscope?
Yes, sir.
Was it moving around?
No, sir. It was non-motile.
In other words, it was dead. Non-motile means dead.
Yes, sir.
So, the best you could say is that these 2 women had intercourse. With how many men or when it took place, nobody could say.
No, sir.
Not even a doctor.
No, sir.
Thank you very much.
You may step down, sir.
Your Honor, the state calls Dr. Marvin H. Lynch.
Judge, Dr. Lynch is scheduled as our next witness, but since his statement will only be a repetition of Dr. Bridges' testimony, I see no reason to introduce it and ask that he be excused from the proceedings.
Very well.
If you know what's good for you, you buy yourself a ticket on the first train. We don't need your justice here. Leave our niggas be. It's unsigned, of course.
Make a telephone call, get some people over here.
I know,
It's just a letter. That's all there is to it.
Tom.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The defense calls Lester Carter. Who introduced you to Ruby Bates?
Victoria Price.
And where did you and Ruby Bates first meet?
On the railroad tracks in Huntsville.
And you spent that night with Ruby in a boxcar?
Yes, sir.
How was the trip to Chattanooga to be made?
By freight train.
And who was to go?
The 3 of us decided to go on our own.
Victoria, Ruby, and yourself?
Yes, sir.
When you got back on the train the next morning, you rode it all the way to Paint Rock?
I was there until the colored boys were arrested.
Now, Lester, I want you to look me straight in the eye and tell me the truth. Did you see the defendant or anyone else on that day attack or rape Victoria Price or Ruby Bates?
No, sir.
Thank you, Lester. Thank you. I have nothing further, Your Honor.
You were chasing a mule out in your pasture when the freight train went by?
That's when I seen the darkies and a white girl in a gondola. One of them grabbed her and threw her down in the car.
Is this a picture of your farm?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I've studied this. Now, from that position, standing next to the woodpile, it appears that the barn would be blocking your view of the railroad tracks on one side, and the house would be blocking it on the other. Are you sure you saw a girl on the train?
I reckon so. She had on woman's clothes.
She had on woman's clothes. She didn't have on overalls or a woman's coat.
No, dress.
Do you own an automobile?
Yes, sir. A Ford pickup.
A fine vehicle. Is it in good running condition?
It sure is.
Tell me something. Seeing a white woman being attacked on a train by a Negro, how come you didn't jump into your fine running pickup and go inform the law, make a complaint to somebody? I mean, how come you didn't do that? I don't have any more questions.
Willie, why were you on that freight train 2 years ago?
Well, I was fixing to go on down to the clinic.
For what purpose? Were you suffering from a disease at that time?
I was. I had syphilis and gonorrhea.
Now, Willie, I don't mean to embarrass you, but if you would please, if you could, tell the jury the condition of your private parts at that time.
We object, Your Honor. We don't want to hear about that.
I will sustain that objection.
Were you able to walk on that day, Willie?
No, sir. I had to use my walking stick.
Did you have intercourse with any woman on that day?
No, sir, I did not.
Thank you. Mr. Roberson?
Defense calls here, Lewis. Mr. Lewis, I want to show you a picture and ask if you recognize the house in the picture.
Yes, sir.
Is that your house?
Yes, sir, it is.
Do you know Victoria Price?
Yes, sir.
Could you describe her for the court?
Well, she plain looking. I recall she had a scar on her lip.
I see. I want to show you another photograph and ask if you see Victoria Price in that photograph.
Yes, sir.
Along with yourself?
Yes.
In front of your house?
Right there.
Now, had you seen Victoria before this time?
Well, about 4 months before, she and her friend, they'd been down by the railroads out in the woods with some men.
Some colored men?
Well, colored and white.
I see. There she is, Victoria Price. Thank you, Your Honor. Your witness.
You wear glasses, Mr. Lewis?
No, sir.
Now, you sure Victoria Price was the woman you saw?
Yes, sir.
Who was the other one she was with?
Miss Ruby Bate.
How do you know?
Well, I seen the names in the paper.
In the newspaper?
Yes, the newspaper.
In the newspaper.
Yes, sir.
You said you saw some men, some colored and white men down by the railroad tracks. Is that true?
Yes, sir. Some men. One of them come up to me.
What did he look like?
He was a young man, like along in his 20s.
Tall, short.
Just a little bit taller than I am.
Lester, would you come on back up here, please? Is this the man you saw?
Yes, sir.
You all stand back to back.
She's had a troubled life.
Do you believe her?
I believe if she'd been treated with respect, she would have never been on that train.
No, you know, the same could be said about Haywood Patterson.
Yes. It's a different matter.
No. Why? Why is it different? Because he's colored?
You're not from the South, so I don't expect you to understand how we think. All that I am, everything that I stand for, I was taught. By the time I was knee-high, my father was taught that way, his father before him, and so on. It's the way things are.
That doesn't make it right. Does not make it right. So, 11 years old, I memorized the Gettysburg Address. I can recite it forwards, backwards, any which way. You know, most Americans, they can reel off a line or two, right? and they remember why the speech was given. But what they don't know is that Lincoln was invited to present a few appropriate remarks as an afterthought. The principal speaker that day was renowned. His speech lasted over 2 hours. Today, nobody remembers his name. Lincoln. Now, his speech lasted just 2 minutes. Carry this with me, and Lincoln's
The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here.
keep it.
This is Alabama. This is our home. If we believe this boy should be executed, then let justice take its course in the proper way. If anybody knows different, tell me now. Because if this is how we feel, then we don't need lawyers or judges. We don't need courtrooms. All we need is our guns and our sticks and our rope. And that tree right over there. Go home. Let us take care of this.
Side, sir.
Something wrong with the gravy, sir?
What is wrong with you people?
All rise.
This is going to be off the record. Before we continue, I want to address this courtroom. This defendant has a right to a fair and decent trial. Any man who attempts to take charge outside the law is unworthy of the protection of the state of Alabama and the citizenship which you enjoy. I have no patience with mob spirit, and if there are any meetings where such matters are discussed, any man attending such a meeting should be ashamed of themselves. Your very civilization depends on the carrying out of your laws in an orderly manner. And gentlemen, I hope you will have no more of any such activity. You may bring in the jury. Mr. Leibowitz, please call your next witness.
Yes, sure. We call the defendant Haywood Patterson.
Place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Be seated.
Haywood, were you one of the 9 boys arrested at Pain Rock?
Yes, sir.
How old were you on that day?
18.
Now, on that day, apparently there was a fight. You were involved with the fight.
Yes, sir.
Now, where did you go after the fight?
I sat in a boxcar.
On top of the boxcar. That would be this car here, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so you sat on top of the boxcar. Did you stay on top of the boxcar all the way to Paint Rock?
Yes, sir.
You never went anywhere else?
No, sir.
Now, you fought with a boy named Gilly. Orville Gilly. Did you hate this boy, Gilly?
No, sir.
Did you hate any of the boys you fought with?
No, sir.
Do you hate anyone in this courtroom here today?
No, sir.
Do you feel like some of them maybe hate you?
Yes, sir.
You know why? Because you're black.
Objection, Your Honor. This line of questioning has nothing to do with the facts of the case.
Are you going somewhere with this, Mr. Leibowitz?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize. Counselor. Haywood, have you been black your whole life?
Objection.
As long as I can remember.
I suggest you get to the point, Mr. Leibowitz.
Yes, Your Honor. I am now going to get to the point. Haywood, in your opinion, would you be sitting here today going through this trial if you were white?
Objection, Your Honor.
I will overrule the objection. It is his opinion.
I would not.
Where would you be?
Going to school, maybe. Somewhere far away from here.
Now, Haywood, can I ask you a question? Very important question, maybe the most important question you've ever been asked in your life. Haywood, did you rape Victoria Price?
No, sir. I absolutely did not.
Thank you.
Well, Haywood,
yes, sir.
do you consider rape a serious crime?
Yes, sir.
Were you tried for this crime at Scottsboro?
I was framed at Scottsboro.
Who told you to say you were framed?
Nobody. I told myself to say it.
Uh-huh. Well, I don't know what that means, but I know what this means. Read some of it to you. Were you asked the question at Scottsboro, did you see all those other Negroes ravish that girl? And your answer was, I seen all of them but 3?
It's wrong.
Was the question not put to you? Name the ones you saw ravish that girl. And your answer was, I don't know their names.
That is wrong.
Did you say to Ozzie Powell in Kilby Prison, if you'd gone ahead and killed those girls, you wouldn't be in this fix?
Objection. The witness was coerced under duress during that trial, before that trial, since that trial, and now, right now, at this very moment.
Did you or did you not?
No, sir, I didn't.
Okay, Haywood. Then I guess this record is incorrect.
Mr. Knight, just because you ask the question doesn't mean it's true.
Due respect, Mr. Shamley. But I wouldn't have asked the question if I couldn't prove it.
They made me say those things.
I have no more questions, Your Honor.
Shouldn't have come. I'm glad you did. I have to tell you something, you know. Every day that I've been down here, you know what I think about? Without fail. At Summer at the Pines. You playing the piano, this girl.
Waiting outside of my cabin?
Waiting outside your cabin the next morning, that's right. And then you appear and I say, I am going to tell your parents that I love their daughter and that
That you're gonna marry her. What, you forgot that part?
No, I didn't forget. I remembered what your father said. Take a number. Wait in line. And I said, yes, but the difference is I am going to marry her. You know, just be prepared when you go to the courthouse. It's not very nice.
Everyone's talking about this case. You must be so proud of Sam, they say. It must be rewarding to know he's fighting the good fight. To tell you the truth, I feel safer now that I'm here than I did at home waiting for the telephone to ring. It's the waiting and not knowing what will come that's the hardest part.
I'm sorry I put you through that. I put both of us through that.
Right. You're not sorry you took it?
No. No.
All rise. Be seated.
Please call your first witness. Mr. Leibowitz,
Your Honor,
please call your first witness.
we have no more witnesses at this time, Your Honor.
Does the defense rest?
No, sir, no. We are just going through some procedural matters at the moment.
Counsel?
Your Honor, may I approach the bench?
I have been informed that there will be one more witness to testify. Proceed.
Defense calls Ruby Bates.
Place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Be seated.
Ruby Bates. Have you ever seen me before in your life?
Not that I know of.
Do you know Victoria Price?
Yes, sir.
And is she in the courtroom here today?
She's right there.
Now, how long before this ride on the freight train did you meet Victoria Price?
About 2 years. We worked in the mill together.
I see. Do you know a man by the name of Lester Carter?
Yes, sir. Yonder he is.
On the morning of March 25th, 1931, did you get on a freight train with Victoria, Lester, and Orville Gilly?
Yes.
Now, please tell us, in your own way, what happened on that train?
The train pulled out of the yard just after 10 o'clock.
And what happened next?
Later on, when the freight pulled into Paint Rock, Victoria told me to play along with her.
Once in here, they'll throw us in jail for sure.
No, they won't.
Shut up.
Miss Bates, were you ever attacked by a Negro on that train?
No, sir.
Did you see Victoria Price attacked on that train?
No, sir.
Thank you.
That's a lovely dress you have on today, Ruby. Where'd you get it?
I bought it.
Who gave you the money to buy it?
A minister from New York.
Why'd you go to New York?
Because I was afraid of what might happen to these defendants.
You were afraid?
Yes, sir.
You were afraid that your testimony at the Scottsboro trial was the reason these boys were convicted.
Yes, sir.
You didn't want to see innocent boys get the electric chair.
No, sir.
So you lied on the witness stand at Scottsboro.
I did what Victoria told me to do.
Like a little sister does what a big sister tells her. Would you call Victoria a friend?
We were friends.
Friend you lie for?
I object. Sustain the objection.
The night you had intercourse with Lester in the empty boxcar, did he rape you or did you plan that on your own?
I object.
Ruby, do you have syphilis?
Your Honor, I move for a mistrial.
Judge,
this line
the
of
defense
question-
showed that Willie Robson has syphilis and I can prove that this girl has it.
Motion denied.
Do you have, or have you ever had, syphilis?
Yes, sir, I had syphilis.
Were you treated for that?
Yes, sir.
When?
In May of 1931.
Say again?
I was treated for syphilis in May of 1931.
Less than 2 months after you were on the train with these Negroes.
I object.
I withdraw the question. Ruby, you testified at Scottsboro that these boys raped you. In fact, did I not meet with you and Victoria in the lobby of the Thomas Jefferson Hotel where you told me that? Are you lying then or are you lying now? Victoria never told you what to say. Because you were raped by those boys. And now you're ashamed to admit it. Isn't that the truth, Ruby? Isn't that the truth as sure as you're sitting here?
No, sir. I've never been raped by anyone in my entire life.
I have nothing else for this witness, Your Honor.
You may step down.
Your Honor, the defense rests.
Very well. This court is in recess until 10 o'clock Monday morning.
The trial of Haywood Patterson should never have happened. The state's not produced one single scrap of evidence.
Gentlemen, in a short time, you will be asked to decide the guilt or innocence of this defendant.
You think Ruby Bates would come in here pleading for this man's life? No, she would be pleading for his blood.
You must appraise every influence that moves men.
This man is a human being. He deserves a fair chance in life.
These men, Lester Carter, Willie Robeson, E.L. Lewis, George Shamley, they've been bought by communists from the North.
I am a Southerner, born and bred. My father was a Confederate soldier.
I want you to believe that Haywood Patterson is the real victim in this case.
The state has not produced a single scrap of evidence. Nothing.
Attacking the sovereignty of our state.
No matter who says it or where you're from.
The society in which they live and all that enters into the making of a man.
I mean, she's a pathological liar.
Jew money from New York.
Prejudice and bigotry.
You must find it in your hearts.
And we all know the truth.
This is quite a responsibility. It's quite a burden.
We don't say that.
This innocent boy.
This man right here.
This boy is innocent.
Deliver to this court.
Make the right decision.
See that justice prevails.
Show them.
Courage.
The verdict.
Show them.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, we are not trying lawyers in this case. We are not trying state lines or whether the defendant is white or black. Your only job is to determine whether Haywood Patterson is guilty or not, beyond a reasonable doubt. I know you will do your duty as honorable citizens of this great state of Alabama, in which your freedom lies. And let justice be done, though the heavens may fall.
All rise. Please be seated. Has the jury agreed upon a verdict? The jury finds the defendant guilty as charged. Fix the punishment of death in the electric chair. May the Lord have mercy on your soul.
Tom, we did it! See, that's Alabama law right there. That's Alabama justice right there. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Lord have mercy. Thank you.
Is this a defeat for communism? These verdicts won't hold up in the U.S. Supreme Court.
I am real pleased with the outcome of the trial, yes.
Miss Bates, why did you change your story?
I didn't want to see innocent boys suffer.
Haywood Patterson will have another trial in Alabama in a year or two.
George, should we be telling the truth?
Sir, how could they have convicted on such flimsy evidence?
We can do anything, sir.
Police, do you care to comment?
Why don't you just take a look around?
We need a comment.
Counselor, you take care of yourself.
You too.
Please, sir, just another comment.
Excuse us.
Expect an appeal?
Before we left town, I wanted you to meet my wife, Belle Leibowitz. William Lee.
Mrs. Leibowitz.
Hello, Mr. Lee.
Wait, what's this?
A few words of encouragement.
Oh, thank you, William. And William.
Years from now, people will hear the word Scottsboro, and it'll mean something. A great man once said, if somewhere in this whirl and chaos of things there dwells eternal good, pitiful yet masterful, in good time the prison shall go free. Unto God I hope it is true.
Social order is based on law, and its perpetuity on its fair and impartial administration. History, sacred and profane, and the common experience of mankind teach us that women of the character shown in this case are prone for selfish reasons to make false accusations of rape and insult upon the slightest provocation. It is therefore the judgment of this court that the verdict of the jury in this case be set aside and a new trial be hereby ordered.
Sessão das 10.